Hi fellow Webflowers, welcome to part 9 of this multi-step tutorial where I'm going to show you how to build this website. So in the last part we have built together this testimonial section, and in this video we are going to build this section that I call the process. And in case that's the first video you are watching, you find the link to the playlist in the description. So without further ado, let's get into it. So back to Webflow. I can delete my dummy section here and create a new section and just call it process. Within there, the first element that we are going to need is this padding for my top and bottom padding of the entire section. I just copied the class name. So next thing we need is a container. We can just use container call 12 for that, because if you go to the design, we can see that it's actually the full width size, or at least almost. If I activate the grid, now you can see that it could fit into 10, but I will build it with 12 column width and make the difference here later within the grid I'm going to use. And by the way, in Figma, there's one shortcut that I use all the time when I'm developing a website. Now you can see that the grid is displayed, and with Command G, you can activate or deactivate the grid. Really love that one. So next thing that we need in this container is another div. We will give it the class process wrap. And within there, we start with the title that we can copy from here. And yeah, in the video that I've built this title, I actually told you that I'm going to use an abstract name here. I didn't call it like Creative's title wrap because I'm probably going to reuse it. And now we are going to reuse it. And now you can see that this class name makes much more sense. It's illus for illustration title wrap. I'm going to reuse it, and I'm just going to paste it here in my process wrap. And here we go. Just need to change the copy. It's easy as cake. And replace the lotties. We have the shaking hands and this cake here. Here are the shaking hands, and here we have the cake. And there are also lottie files that can just loop. I'm going to use the built-in duration, that's fine. And the same for this one. We also can loop it. And if we now go into preview mode, you can see from time to time this cherry just drops on the cake, and these hands, they are slightly shaking. Exactly. So next thing that we are going to build is this grid. So we will need a spacer at the beginning. So from here we have a spacing of 43 pixels. So in our 8-pixel spacing system, I would round it down to 40 pixels. And I'm just going to add a spacer block for that. PB for padding bottom 40. And actually that looks a little bit too less. I just go with PB 64. Oh, in case you want to use a spacing block, remember that you can't use paddings for them. You have to use margin. You can see now I have here this class with the padding of 4 EM, and you can see the height is actually 0. I have to use a MB 64, so is margin bottom 64, just to get this correct spacing here. So, but now we can add our grid. And I'm going, oops, that was wrong. I'm going to give it the class process grid, and we will probably need 12 columns for that. So I'm going to add them. Now we have 12, and we don't need any margins or gaps, column gaps or row gaps. And yeah, the rows, they can stay on auto. And next is that I'm going to add another div, and I'm going to call this process item. And yeah, within the process item, we need a lottie file. This is having the class process lottie. And yeah, here we go. Next, we need a div that is going to be called content wrap. That's just one of my global classes. And within the content wrap, we need a headline and this paragraph. So I give it a combo class of is process. And I'm going to give it a header. This will be an h3. It becomes, or it gets the class is h3. And also a combo class of is txt blue. So, okay, wait, something went wrong here. Here we go, that's the right class. And let's copy some text. And let's also copy this text. And let's add a paragraph to the content wrap. Here we go. I gave it the class is txt medium, so it's my standard copy size. And let's have a look at our spacing here. We have a spacing of 24 pixels. So I'm going to turn this content wrap to be flex with that settings, and I give the rows a gap of 1.5 em. Then I go to the process item itself. I also turn this to be flex like that. And if we look back at our design, activate the grid, I can see it covers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 grid columns. So we go to manual placing, and it should start at column 2 and end at column 11. Okay, let's make 3 to 10. Now it's covering my 8 columns. And if I look back at the design, the spacing here is like 36 pixels, roundabout. So first of all, let's add the lottie file. We need this one. We can give the process item here a gap of 32 pixels is the same as 2 em. And we also need to align center it, so it looks like this. And yeah, this one, actually the sizing is not correct. Let's go back to this one. Let's place it like this. And this process lottie, it can be much larger. So the size here is almost 290 pixels. So let's go here and give it a width of 290 divided by 16 em. And we also have to change the flex child sizing to this. Now it has the right size, but if I look at the line here in the design, I can see it breaks somewhere different. So again, I'm going to select the process item and change the column end to 9. And yeah, it doesn't look exactly as in the design, but actually I'm happy with that. And the last thing that is missing in this section is this line actually. I'm going to select it, right click on it and copy as SVG. Turn back to Webflow. We have to set the position of the process item to relative. Now I can add an embed. I have to delete the width and height settings here. So I can actually use width and height settings here. And I'm going to call this one process path. Is 1 because we will have more of that. And let's start with something like 100%. Oh. It has to be absolute. And we can position it here at the bottom. And actually now we can like move it like something like, okay, the other way, minus 3M. This side. So I'm going to place it like this for now, and I'm going to refine it later once we have the second item here. So to add the second item, I'm just going to duplicate the first process item like this. And I'm going to change the placement to row 2. And yeah, it needs to start something like 411. Yeah, something like this. We have to change the position of the text and the image. And I'm going to give this one a third combo class of is reverse, just to reverse the text, or actually align it right. And I'm going to replace this lottie. We need this one here. And back to the design. I start to copy my headline. I paste it here. I'm copying this SVG. And yeah, just go here and make it is 02. Delete again the width and height settings, so I can use the width and height settings here from Webflow. I go with 90% at the beginning. I'm going to position it absolute. Let's say something like -4. Three. And yeah, actually I think I can use some more distance here. 4 or maybe even 5. Looks a little bit better. And yeah, I need some more spacing in the grid. So let's turn back to the grid and give the rows a spacing of maybe 4 EM, or maybe even 6 EM. So now I can change the size settings of this. Something like 94% is okay. And -7.5, I think we can go with that. And Let's add the third one. Again, let's copy our first process item. I'm going to move it here down, and I'm going to position it in row 3. And something changed here. 2 to 9. Okay, now that's fine. And the last one, yeah, it's more to the center. So it starts at 1, 2, 3. It starts at 4. And probably ends in row 10. Yeah. Okay, let's copy the text. Delete the last path because we don't need it. And you can see we have to decrease this one a lot to something like this. And yeah, I will need some extra spacing here on this one. And I can't use the gaps of my grid because the gaps of the grid, they are always the same. You can't have different gap sizes for different rows. So I'm going to add one class here, is last, and give this one a margin top. Something like this. And in a design, let's move it a little bit more like this. And yeah, looks already pretty nice. Let's see how it is responding. Okay, looks like we have to make some adaptations here so it responses. The first thing we have to do is we have to go to the grid on desktop breakpoint and set its width to 100%. This will already fix a lot. You can see now the difference. I can turn it off here if you want to see it. So you see now I have an overflow, and as soon as I add 100% or like this, you can see it already fixes a lot. So now we can start here at 2 and end at 10. And, or actually, let's start at 1 and end at 10. And this one we can start at 3 and end at 12. And the last one, we can start at 3 and end at 10. Okay, fine. Now some little changes to this one, like this. This is actually pretty fine. Let's change the gap here a little bit. Turn it down, something like that. 4.5 is enough. Let's move this up a little bit so it's in the middle, and the same here. I have to go to the spacing and add a little bit more like this. 6.5 looks great. And now on mobile. Okay, I think here on mobile we actually need to hide this paths and switch to a different view. Here we should go into a vertical view and also switch back to auto and give it a full column span. Same we do here. We go to auto, give it a full column span. And also here with the last one, auto 12 column span. For this one, I want the text to be under the image. So we can just change the direction here to be, oh no, that was wrong. I have to select the lottie file and go here to alignment and order and give this first so it moves up. And this text, it has here the class of reverse. I can change this back to be aligned left. So now they're all aligned left. Then here actually I can give them some wrap, something like 2.5 EM probably works, like this. And I can increase the size of the lottie files a little bit to something like 20 EM. And you can see I still have some extra spacing here. It comes from my last class. I'm going to turn this down to 0. And now it looks great. And yeah, even on mobile looks great. On mobile, I maybe can decrease the size of this one again a little bit. And actually, that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If it's the first video you were watching, be sure to check out the entire playlist, because that's video number 9 of a multi-part tutorial. And don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel not to miss any of the following videos. And as always, thanks and stay in the flow.